and welcome to this week's hashtag Toe to Toe. I am joined by Fearon and Don Charles. Don, thanks for coming in. First things first, I just want to hear what you thought of Saturday. How well did it go for you?
For my fighter, Frank Buglioni, yeah, it went very well. We got the win. No matter how one performs or how the fight panned out, get that W. We won and we kept our titles. I'm very, very happy.
Yeah, well, we've got lots of tweets to get through, so we'll get started. Miller at J Miller has asked, how much will you change with Buglioni for the Burton rematch when it happens?
If that fight does happen eventually, if it's not broken, done to mend it. The tactics we used for the first fight would employ that tactic again because it worked. Obviously, we took quite a lot of shots during the first encounter.
Well, just sorry to interrupt you, sir. It worked because you got the stoppage win, but you were trailing behind on the points, though.
Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, we were behind on points. But nevertheless, it's not it's how you finish the race. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But you're saying the tactics.
Yeah.
Now, just in case, like Buglioni was doing them long shots at you.
Mm-hmm. No, Burton.
Sorry, Burton was trying those long shots at you, and you were getting inside, and he was like applied pressure. Could there be a danger now because of him trying to that and Jose Burton just boxing at range to try and sneak out a points victory against you?
He was forced to throw punches they didn't intend on throwing just to try and keep Frank off.
Okay.
Yeah? That's not going to change. That was the key. What we have to do is to make sure we don't get tagged as many shots, clean shots as we took.
All right, so don't you think Joe Gallagher would change his tactics to suit?
It depends on what you mean by change. If he employs to then come forward, the fight will end quicker in our favour.
Okay.
If he boxes on the back foot, which I believe that's his only option, it will be to box on the back foot. I don't see him do it. I'm not underestimating him by any means, by any chance. He hasn't got any say in it because he will be forced to fight at a pace. Train harder, you're going to leave it in the gym. If the fighter trains harder to have the type of energy to sustain the onslaught, he will leave the fight in the gym.
Okay.
So he's trapped. It's called being snookered.
Dan Frost has tweeted in, AJ is clearly still a work in progress, but what have we learned from his rugged win over Takam, and what ideally would you like to see next? We'll start with you, Spencer.
He finds a way. That is it. He finds a way. It was a fight where he was winning the fight, but he wasn't being concussive in the work that he was doing, and Takam shocked a lot of us. I didn't think this fight was going to go 4 rounds. I admit, so I have to apologise to Carlos Takam because I thought you should get knocked out. But I should have listened to Mickey Elliott, the fight promoter, who was adamant in telling me that Carlos Takam is one tough cookie and he's very, very awkward. Don't watch him on a Joseph Parker performance. He's a very, very good customer, and he proved that. And I think Phil Edwards was a little bit unkind to him. He should have let him get a kind of second win to see what he was going to do. I thought it was a premature stoppage, but Anthony Joshua is still a work in progress. But even though he's a work in progress, he's heavyweight champion of the world. And we have to still remember, it's embryonic stage, he's still a baby. But after going to the heights of beating Klitschko in that manner, anything underneath that performance, even if it's a 1% underneath, he's going to be criticised. But he got the win, it was a learning win, and the sky's still the limits for him.
Did you think it was a premature stoppage?
It depends on what you mean by premature in the sense that it appeared that way. But remember, the referee is the closest person to the action. He can see the fighter's eyes. We can't, the audience. All right? What deems to us to be a premature stoppage, but the referee gets a closer look, and he's there to protect the fighter. That everybody can moan and say, "Oh, it was great," but guess what? Takam gets to fight another day. He finished with his dignity intact. He finished on his feet. Okay, so I think it may appear premature, but the referee's there to do a job.
Yeah, for real.
Where would you say that Anthony should go next following that fight?
Like Spencer touched on it, once you've beaten the best and the way he beat, you have to use the word great, the great Klitschko, because after doing that, anything below that, no matter who it is, the public, very demanding, We're spoiled. Joshua has spoiled us in the sense that he's been icing everybody that's been put in front of him. So anything that, if that doesn't happen, then it's not. I thought it was a brilliant performance against a very durable, ambitious. Remember, this was Takam's chance to change his life forever, to make history, and he didn't come there to lie down. And you have to credit him. Okay, he didn't, including myself. I thought that you said 4. Yeah. I thought 2, 3. Yeah. Josh would get him out of there. But remember, the challenger has planned. That was his opportunity to change his life, and he did himself proud anyway, regardless. Either way, he did himself proud.
He did, and I would like to see Anthony Joshua now fight Joseph Parker, collect the WBO, and then afterwards have this massive fight with him and Deontay Wilder. That's what I would like to see happen.
That's what we want.
Connor has tweeted in saying, if Chisora was going to fight either Joshua or Wilder, who would you be more confident in beating?
Yeah. Have I really thought of that? Good question.
Of course you have.
Good question. Basically...
which one would give you more money? That's what you're thinking about.
Obviously Joshua. But if I was to choose to prepare my guy to face who, I'd go to fight Wilder. I see him more vulnerable than...
Why?
Why? Because I see him more vulnerable. I'm not going to... Because if I say exactly what, he's going to go and work on it. And Joshua is more concussive in the sense, and he's got incredible fast hands. He puts punches together very good as a heavyweight, for a heavyweight. So given the option, who would you rather my guy face? I would say Deontay Wilder. Beat the Americans, man. Keep the brick thing going, no?
Spencer?
Who would I like to see him fight? To tell you the truth, Don Charles has worked with Anthony Joshua early doors when he was going to turn pro.
Earlier in his career, yeah.
So I would say Wilder. That's the fight that I would say to pick him against Wilder, because I think Wilder would look at him as being a safe bet to go into fight. So I would say I'd like to see that fight happen. But before any of that, I would love to see, especially if Dereck is successful on the weekend, which I believe that he will be, to win the European title, that he could defend his European title against Dillian Whyte.
That's who we want.
Dylan, the villain, the body snatcher Whyte versus Dereck Chisora 2. That's the fight that we could all chew. I'd like to see that fight.
It excites me. The thought of it excites me. And like I said earlier on, if those two were to fight 100 times, you're going to get a good performance 99 times out of 100.
I think we get a war 99 times out of 100.
The rumours it'll happen next year as well.
Well, fingers crossed.
Well, fingers crossed they both come through. Dylan's just come through the weekend.
Yeah.
And I believe we're going to come through successfully in Monaco. Provided that happens, then it sets it up nicely.
Wait and see. Norman Barton has tweeted in saying, Don, can Tyson Fury return to the ring at the level he was against Klitschko, or does a fighter just lose something in a long layoff?
Everybody, he's not exempt from losing his edge. What I would recommend if I were involved in, which I'm not, but as an observer, he needs a tune-up, a couple of tune-ups, maybe one tune-up, 2 preferably. The time is of the essence, I'm sure he wants to get into the mix straight away. But a nice tune-up against a very credible opponent to make sure that get his timing and performing in front of an audience again. So, yeah.
Yeah. Spencer?
Yeah, most definitely. Tyson Fury has made examples to himself, or comparisons to himself, of him and Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali, when he was in exile for refusing to go to the Vietnam War in the late 60s, when he came back in the 70s, he had 2 warm-up fights, which were both 2 credible men who were ranked in the top 10. One of them being Jerry Quarry, who he beat, and then also stopping Oscar Bonavena. Now, these are 2 credible guys. Then he went on and fought Joe Frazier, which he lost. But he still had to have those fights. If he went in straight away to fight Joe Frazier, we don't know what could happen. Maybe we got stopped. We don't know.
Yeah,
so Tyson Fury needs to look. History does repeat itself. Tyson Fury would need a couple warm-ups before stepping into that big stage to go and fight someone like Anthony Joshua. But I will say this: the Tyson Fury that beat Klitschko versus the Anthony Joshua that boxed the other night, I would slightly favour Tyson Fury to have won that fight. But Anthony Joshua is the type of person who raises to the occasion, and the bigger the opponent, the better he is. So it's going to be a fantastic fight, but Tyson Fury needs to get fit first.
And we collectively within the boxing community hope that Tyson does come back.
Yeah.
Boxing needs him.
I think everybody does. James Mitchell has tweeted in, interesting close fight this weekend between Chisora and Cabiel. Is that how you pronounce it?
That's right.
Yeah, got it first time. For the European title, predictions.
You go first, because I want to hear your take on it.
My take is this: if you look at Cabiel, he's got very, very good punch output, and he's got a good repertoire of punches. I reckon you'd say that, right?
Yeah.
He has. But Dereck Chisora has to have applied pressure to him, which I believe that he will do. And I think, like Don Charles was saying earlier on the podcast, which you guys have to listen to, that he's owed a big performance. Do you understand? Because, he's always the bridegroom and never the bride, right? So on this here, bridesmaid and never the bride. Sorry. On this fight here, he needs to come out and say that, listen, I'm everything in the whole wedding, and go and put on a fantastic performance, win that European title, because bigger things are going to come for it. But I think his experience will be the telling factor. Here's a guy who's been in with world champions, former world champions, and just being short. So on this one now, he's got to put everything into it and grab this thing with two hands. I think he's capable of doing it.
Yeah. Don, how's the training camp gone for this one?
Yeah, training's gone really well. I've been with Dereck from the beginning of his career, boxing career, and he's really hungry for this fight. And he's at a part of his career where he has to be hungry for it. There is no room for error. Losing has never been an option, certainly not this fight. We've prepared really well for this fight. He's trained so hard for this fight, and he's under obligations. I reminded him that you touched on it. He owes himself a big Grand Slam win.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fed up and I'm fed up of, you gave a great fight, but guess what? We didn't win. No, we want to be, you had a brilliant fight. Guess what? You won. So that's the orders. He's under obligations to deliver. He has to deliver.
Okay, well, fingers crossed. That's all for this week. My thanks to Don and Spencer. Don, I'll see you in Monaco. Tune in next week for more hashtag. I know, yeah. Tune in next week for more hashtag toe to toe, or check out iTunes for the podcast.
Sky Sports. Feel it all.